In the final months of the Pacific War, Japan believed its last line of defense was invisible. Beneath the volcanic rock of Iwo Jima, Okinawa, and the Ryukyu chain, tens of thousands of soldiers vanished into a labyrinth of tunnels, chambers, and concrete caverns, a buried empire designed to outlast bombardment and bleed the invaders dry. Engineers of the Imperial Japanese Army boasted that no American bomb could find them, no shell could touch them, and no soldier could flush them out. But on March 26, 1945, when a column of U.S. Marines advanced through the shattered coral hills of northern Iwo Jima, something unexpected happened. The earth itself began to burn. Fire seeped into air vents. Smoke curled through gun slits, and within minutes, the caves, once a symbol of endurance, became death traps. The Japanese never expected their hidden strongholds to be betrayed not by spies or maps, but by the chemistry of flame and the physics of confined air. These caves had been a marvel of engineering. Carved from basalt with pickaxes and pneumatic drills, some extended over 20 kilometers underground. Command posts sat 30 meters below the surface, complete with ventilation shafts, radio rooms, and ammunition depots sealed behind blast doors. On Iwo Jima alone, Japanese engineers used 300,000 cubic meters of concrete, creating more than 700 interconnected bunkers. General Tadamichi Kuribayashi's design was clear: deny the Americans their overwhelming firepower by disappearing beneath it. The defense network allowed soldiers to move unseen between sectors, reappear behind marine lines, and launch ambushes through hidden firing ports. It was not a static fortress. It was an underground city designed for total resistance. For weeks, it worked. Artillery barrages consuming 6,800 tons of shells barely scratched the surface. Pilots reported direct bomb hits that left no visible damage. "They vanish when we hit them, then reappear," wrote Captain Robert Holmes, 4th Division Marines, in his March 10 diary entry. "It's like fighting ghosts that breathe sulfur." The American response evolved out of desperation and chemistry. Early attempts to seal the tunnels failed. Explosives collapsed entrances, but hidden secondary exits reopened the system within hours. Grenades detonated harmlessly against rock. Even poison gas tests were abandoned due to unpredictable wind and ethical restrictions from Washington. Then came the realization: if you couldn't destroy the tunnels, you could destroy the air inside them. By late March, the Marines began deploying the M2A1 flamethrower, pressurized tanks of napalm-thickened gasoline capable of projecting a 30-meter jet of flame at 100 psi. At first, it was used tactically, clearing bunkers one at a time. But a handful of engineers noticed something. When flame was pushed into a narrow cave mouth, the resulting firestorm consumed all oxygen, pulling in fresh air from connected shafts and dragging smoke deep into the network. It was physics more than weaponry. Oxygen starvation transformed defensive sanctuaries into suffocating furnaces. The effect was horrifying. The Japanese bunkers, designed with narrow corridors for defense, became perfect chimneys. Flames traveled downward, not upward, feeding on oil, paper, and wooden ammunition crates. Temperatures reached an estimated 1,200 degrees centigrade, hot enough to ignite machine gun stocks and melt steel fittings. A Marine sergeant recalled, "You could hear the fire roaring through the vents like a blowtorch." Then came the screams, and then nothing. Sergeant Bill Harkins, 3rd Battalion, 28th Marines, Field Log, March 1945. Within minutes, entire platoons were asphyxiated, without a single bullet fired. To test the result, engineers inserted smoke grenades into secondary openings. None emerged, proof the interior air had collapsed into carbon monoxide and ash. By April, the U.S. military-industrial machine shifted gears to perfect the process. From Guam and Saipan, chemical engineers shipped refined napalm B, gelled gasoline mixed with benzene and polystyrene, to frontline units. One 55-gallon drum could fill 150 flamethrower tanks, each lasting about 10 seconds of continuous fire. Logistics officers calculated that burning out an average tunnel system of 10 chambers required 250 gallons of fuel. The U.S. Navy Seabees constructed portable refilling stations directly on beaches, keeping pressure tanks supplied through 2-inch hoses. Every gallon burned a piece of the mountain. Japanese officers were not ignorant of the new terror. On Okinawa, Lieutenant Colonel Hiromichi Yahara ordered ventilation shafts sealed with sandbags and bamboo plugs. He wrote, "We believed our walls would resist, but smoke is a silent soldier that kills all." Despite countermeasures, the physics remained merciless. Fire followed oxygen wherever it could flow. On May 11th, during the battle for Shuri Ridge, the U.S. 6th Marine Division pumped flamethrower fuel into a cave for 17 continuous seconds. The resulting backdraft expelled a jet of flame 40 feet high, killing 36 defenders instantly. Thermal shock fractured concrete and detonated ammunition stores, causing sympathetic explosions that lit the hills like lanterns. The impact on morale was immediate. Japanese radio intercepts revealed growing despair. "We fight not the Americans, but fire itself," one coded message read from the 24th Infantry Regiment, Okinawa, May 1945. Entire battalions chose suicide over suffocation. Civilians hiding in caves faced the same horror. Reports from U.S. Navy medics describe rescuing women and children with skin blackened from smoke, their eyes burned by fumes. Flame warfare blurred the boundary between combat and annihilation. It also transformed the psychology of both sides. For the Americans, it was the efficient end to a grinding stalemate. For the Japanese, proof that even stone could betray them. Behind the front lines, production raced to keep up with demand. Each M2A1 flamethrower required 36 hours of labor to assemble and test, consuming 18 kilograms of brass and steel. Over 25,000 units were produced by 1945 at a cost of $1,100 each. Engineers refined nozzle diameters to control spray pattern, and pilots of the Navy's PB-4Y1 bombers tested aerial flame tanks for larger targets. At the same time, new compounds emerged, magnesium-thickened gels capable of clinging to vertical rock. By summer, the technique of smoke flushing was standard procedure. Instead of attacking, Marines sealed openings, injected fuel, and ignited controlled burns. What began as improvisation became doctrine. The strategic outcome was devastating for Japan. Entire divisions were buried alive beneath their own fortifications. On Iwo Jima, out of 21,000 defenders, only 216 were taken prisoner. On Okinawa, flame-clearing operations incinerated 4,300 cave positions in less than 3 weeks. American casualties, while still brutal, 12,520 killed and missing, were far fewer than anticipated. Fire became not just a weapon, but an equation of efficiency. Every gallon of napalm saved hours of bloody tunnel fighting. The tactic foreshadowed the next stage of the war, mass firebombing from the air. Yet victory carried an uncomfortable echo. In the diaries of Marine engineers, one line appears often: "We could smell them before we saw them."
The scent of charred limestone and burned oil mixed with something human lingered for days. The cave mouths kept breathing smoke long after the fire went out, noted Corporal James Blaine, Combat Engineer Battalion, June 1945. Even amid triumph, soldiers understood they had entered a new dimension of warfare, one fought not against men, but against the physical environment itself. The Pacific Islands became laboratories of combustion, where the boundaries of destruction were tested and expanded. When Japan finally surrendered in August 1945, the caves still stood, blackened, silent, and filled with ghosts. Many remained sealed, entrenching thousands who had once believed rock would protect them. Their secret strongholds had not been defeated by superior numbers or technology, but by an invisible adversary, oxygen. The lesson was grim and absolute. No fortress, no bunker, no mountain can withstand the element it requires to live. The Japanese built a kingdom beneath the earth to survive the American invasion, and found instead that the air they breathed would become their executioner. In the end, it wasn't bombs or bullets that revealed their hiding places. It was the sound of fire crawling through the dark, and the smoke that told the world where they were.